Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Faith, Family, and Friends with yours truly and my wife, Amy, who's next to me.
I'll be right
And she'll be right there, right here. Another edition. We've kind of been hit or miss with our broadcasts lately. And so tonight we come to you from the big city of Fulton, Michigan. Population, feel like hee-haw.
10.
Salute! Says Roy Clark and Buck Owens and Buck and one of the Hager boys. But back in the day, hee-haw gang. Tonight we have a very special guest coming up, Mo Mountain Mutts. Some of you have seen her stuff on YouTube, Instagram, X, Twitter, a number of other websites, social media sites. I hope that she's able to come on, because it is sometimes a little bit difficult making those connections, as some of you know. So we're going to kind of wait out and see if she comes into the screen, into the view. We sent the link to her. She's going to be coming to us from Skagway, Alaska, which is eastern part of Alaska,
It
right?
looks, did you say southeast? It looks
Yeah.
beautiful.
Beautiful. I'm going to give you, did I accidentally, what did I do? Wow, that's not good. I'm going to copy the link of her Instagram account, share it in the comment section here, and you'll see it. There it goes. And hit that. And that'll show you on all the ones that we are on, Faith, Family, Friends. That was Instagram, right? Now I'll share with you the YouTube. So if we don't do anything tonight, she's somehow, we're not able to connect because of distance and whatnot.
Is that on what standard time is it on? Alaska. Same as
Alaska.
Seattle?
So it's 5 hours.
5. Oh my
Yes, it's
word.
5 hours. Copy.
Wow. So 5 hours earlier than right now.
Yes, it's about 3 o'clock.
Okay. She might be out on a walk.
Well, she said that she was free. So
Okay.
we love to promote what people do. There we go. So there's the YouTube connection. We love to talk about what people do, especially when it comes to dogs. Mo also has a line of clothing that relates to her dog bus, and they're really neat sweatshirts, posters. And then I believe that she also has a supplement, a health supplement, and is really a great trainer of her dogs. And when you look at her website, I don't think we shared that, did we? I don't want to overkill, but if I did share something twice, I apologize. There's the website. So at the very least, we're giving
her a shout out.
Her shout out. And you've got to watch the videos. They're incredible. Can you check my phone?
Mm-hmm, sure.
We do have a couple of other guests coming up that we hope to connect to, or with anyway. Stephanie Luce from down East Maine.
Yay.
She, maybe you could bring the wreath in and show the folks after, see if that's her on there. Not Stephanie, but Mo from Mo Mountain Mutts. She has actually, I don't know how many, 65,000 followers and over 4 million views of that dog bus. It's just the most fascinating thing, how those dogs get in on that bus. But back to our hopefully our future interview this week, maybe next week at the latest. Stephanie Luce, she is the owner and operator of Bessie Ridge Wreaths in down East Maine, main home of the double-sided wreaths. Mm-hmm. I never grew up knowing there was any such a thing as anything but a double-sided wreath. Watching my mother and my sister, my aunts, making those wreaths, and I brought the tips in, unloaded them into the basement, and watched the deft fingers and hands of my mother and all the women folk in the factories around Washington County form those beautiful wreaths of fir tips brought in by the men folk from the forests and woods of down East Maine. Beautiful balsam smell, So we're going to try to have her on, but my wife's going to go and grab the wreath that we ordered from her this week. There's some bigger companies that in down East Maine that offer quality products in relation to holiday wreaths and centerpieces, but there's also some smaller cottage businesses like Bessie Ridge Wreaths and some others that we'd love to highlight. So we bought our wreath from Stephanie this year, and hopefully we'll have her show you how a real wreath is made. I bet you were wondering how that happens here in Midwest and Michigan. And then also, if you are familiar with Bruce Cameron, okay, and there she is. Okay. I'm gonna let her know. And okay, good. Let's see if she's on board. I'm not bothered. Okay, hopefully she'll get on. So she did answer me. A Dog's Purpose was a book written by Bruce Cameron. He came back with 3 other books, and he's written a lot more than 3 other books. Repo Man, Dog's Purpose, Dog's Way Home. We've interviewed Bruce a number of times on the radio back in Maine. And we also had him on our video broadcast, Faith, Family, Friends. Bring it over here, Amy. We're going to have his wife on pretty soon. But look at this wreath that Stephanie made from Bessie Ridge Wreaths in Down East Maine. It's a beautiful piece. And you've got balsam here. Okay.
Smells
Smell
so
it.
great.
Yep. We've got cedar. We've got real genuine pine cones. The berries aren't real, but the bowl is real.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and double-sided,
Double-sided.
which is the way any wreath ought to be made. So there's Mo. We're going to bring her on now. Okay. How you doing, Mo?
Good. Sorry, my computer wanted to do some updates before it was
Right. That happens sometimes at the least expected time, but we're glad we finally made connection with you. It was okay because we gave an update. I've got a dog that's going crazy. If you can hear her playing with her toy, this is one of our 3 dogs. She's a rescue. So she just loves that attention.
I have a cat right here. He's about to walk probably in front of the screen.
So despite the fact that you train your animals, there's always a stray one. Boy, beautiful cat.
Oh yeah.
We're cat lovers too. Oh, beautiful. Is that a coon cat?
He's just a tabby cat. It might have some Egyptian Mau in there, but he's our 14-year-old cat. My husband and I have had him since he was a little tiny kitty that could fit inside your slipper.
He's a good sized cat. Wow.
He's huge. He's really big.
That's great. Well, we love dogs, and you are probably the 6th interview relating to dogs. I was just sharing with the folks as we were updating people with our upcoming interviews. We've had Bruce Cameron from A Dog's Purpose. We've had Mike Lalasich from Buddy and Me out of Canada. And we had the owner of the dog that greeted people at the Boston Marathon. So we love anything about dogs, and it's been a real great ride. We interview all kinds of guests, and it's finally great to catch up with you. Like so many people that saw your original YouTube, I think it was the original one that got 4 million likes and views.
It's on TikTok more? With 64 million views.
Wow. That's crazy. So
yeah, we're a bit more popular on TikTok than the other. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now Threads. I'm not familiar with the new one, but we just started over there too.
Yeah, I looked at that and I developed a free account, and then I'm just going to investigate that to see if it would be helpful for us. But can you just walk us back into how that you began to do this? And you always had a love for dogs. Did you take any training in terms of official dog training? How did you start doing this? It's actually we're very curious about how that it began to do, because those dogs seem so comfortable with you and get right on that bus and get right in that seat like they knew where they were going.
Yeah. And so in the winter, I'm wearing my bus shirt.
Yeah.
Yay!
That's great.
And so in the summer, we have a lot of seasonal dogs that come and visit. And so they're only with us, just for a couple months. And so in the winter, you're seeing my longtime regulars who have been with me for a long time, or maybe a new puppy. But in the winter, it's kind of our regulars. And so they definitely know the drill. They know their seats. They have their spot. And so, not all the dogs know their seats or
Yeah.
have their spots, especially the seasonals. They get kind of moved around. But
Yeah.
in the wintertime, we have a bit more freedom to make videos because we're not as busy dog walking.
Yeah.
There's just not as much sunlight
Uh-huh.
to do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cold. They don't want to be outside as long.
Right.
So that's a lot of our content we make in the middle of the winter. And so
Yeah.
that big viral video is definitely like our main crew. And then there was Slade, and he was just a little puppy, and he always just ran right to his seat. He was really
Yeah.
cute.
That's
Yeah.
great. How many dogs do you sit and walk? So that's part of that is you're taking them to a place where they can just go roam free, but not entirely free. Of course, there's you have them within eyesight, but how many of them do you do on a regular basis?
It's actually really hard to keep them in eyesight in the middle of summer because there's so much foliage. And so they do go out of eyesight,
Okay.
but I'm not going to let a new dog that I don't know, go that far ahead. I also have different rules for different dogs. Like dogs who are reactive aren't allowed to go as far.
Okay.
There's certain dogs I trust to range, like a Curlian bear dog. My dog, she runs big circles around the group,
Okay.
but she's also going to alert me if there's any predators like bears. And so I want her further away, and I kind of want her on the outskirts.
Yes.
And then I want, the more delicate dogs to stay a lot closer to me.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you determine that initially with your customers? Do you have some kind of test? Do they sort of have to pass something so that you can make sure that, because I'm sure they want their dog to stay safe, and that I'm sure they agree with.
Oh yeah, I don't just take any dog, and I
Yeah.
don't just take any random dog, throw them on the bus with no training and hope that they come back. I definitely am not doing that.
That's
There
good.
is a lot that goes into getting into my program,
Uh-huh.
and there's a lot that goes into getting on my bus. And so I don't record most of my training. I don't record any in-home private one-on-one training. And so online, you don't see half of the work that I do. You're only getting a little glimpse of when my job is really easy for me to make content with, right? And so
Wow.
you're not getting all the difficult stuff. You're not getting the dogs when they're like out of control, and you're not getting any videos of them biting me. I'm not going to put that on the internet, right?
Right.
And so I don't post a lot of those things.
Yeah. Is there?
Mostly because I don't want people to try and copy and paste something they see, because each dog is so different, and one method with this dog might not be appropriate to do with this dog.
Right.
And so everything is so like variable, and each dog has their own program. And how I determine that is when I do a meet and greet, I also perform a lot of temperament testing. And then after I do the meet and greet with the owner and I do some temperament testing, I get a good idea of how I'm going to start the dog and what starting point they're at. And then there's this whole acclimation process. They might need to get acclimated to me. They might need to get acclimated to the bus and all the sounds. Maybe they were a yard dog and they've never been on a walk. Then they need to get acclimated to a leash
Yeah.
and to a harness,
Yeah.
and so every dog is a little bit different. So there's this whole acclimation period that they all go through where they're getting comfortable with me. They're learning my trail cues, and they're having the correct obedience that they need. And if the dog, it's just the reason why a dog would not make the cut would be is if the owner doesn't want to sign them up with enough training with me, or they won't do the training themselves.
Yeah.
So they either have to work with me
Mhm.
or their dog can't come. And so if the dog is only coming once or twice a week, I'm not going to break through on a good recall. That's not going to happen. You have to be practicing a couple times a day throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so the owners that are on board with the training, their dogs get in really fast. The dogs learn it. They're in the pack, within 3 weeks tops.
Yeah.
A dog whose owner is not on board with the training and not putting in any work, and they're hoping that the dog just figures it out with me,
Yeah.
they could take half of a year to figure it out.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
every dog is
Yeah.
kind of at their own pace and their own
That makes sense.
thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's like human beings. There's so much variety, and we don't really assume that with dogs. We think they're all the same in a sense, in a generalized sense. But yet there are personalities, not just the breed-specific types, but even within that breed, there are certain things that they grow up with too that environmentally are different than other dogs. So
And just temperament,
Yeah.
you've got those really fearful dogs. You've got dogs that just get overwhelmed really easily. And then you got dogs that just trust you. They're
Yeah.
like, I like you. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
And then
go.
there's some dogs who are like, who are you? Don't touch me. Why are you getting close to me? Actually, I
Right.
think I want to run away. Like, you're scary.
Yeah.
And going back to the very first question that you
Yeah.
asked me about
Yeah,
what kind
yeah.
of training and where did I get, or how the whole thing kind of started.
Yeah.
A big part of my background is I have a degree in psychology, and that helps me a lot with conditioning behaviors.
Hmm.
And then my parents were dog breeders, and I grew up with just packs of dogs. And
Wow. So that's
I've got 4 parents, and they all are dog people. And so I kind of took everything I learned from my family. I did like those AKC dog shows when I was a kid. So I've been handling dogs since I was really little. I was actually in the newspaper when I was 9 with my Siberian Husky.
Nice.
And so I've been handling dogs for as long as I can remember.
Wow.
I don't remember not having dogs.
Hmm.
And then I went to school for psychology, and then I just have a lot of experience in my field of handling different dogs. I try to go to seminars when I can or
Mhm.
learn from other people. There's lots of resources online now too.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of take everything from everybody that I like and use what's useful for me
Yes.
and apply it to my program.
Do you espouse or just subscribe to the I don't know if it's a maxim that's going out there, but I think I've heard something to the effect of there's no such thing as a bad dog.
I have a bunch of shirts that I buy from that. There's a dog trainer. His name is Tom Davis, and he sells T-shirts that say "No bad dogs."
Yeah.
I've
I
bought
think I'd like to own
a
one.
sweatshirt and a T-shirt and a tank top, and I wear them all the time while I'm dog walking.
That's
And
great.
they're so fun to wear because you'll have people like I'll be in the post office and somebody behind me will be like, "Well, you haven't met my 2 doodles,"
Oh,
and I'm like, "Must be you. It's not the dog."
Exactly.
Good for you.
I'm super sassy because if somebody wants to open up and strike a conversation and like
Yeah.
throw their dog under the bus, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way too.
And one of the most repeating comments I get, especially on TikTok, is my dog could never. And it's so sad to me that people don't believe in their dogs. And I
Mhm.
reply to that one every single time that I see it. And I say, the first step is believing in your dog. Work with
Yeah.
a trainer, and you would be amazed at what your dog is actually capable of.
Yeah.
And so it's the owner that doesn't know how to communicate to their dog properly. And then the
Mhm.
dog suffers, and then the owner blames the dog. And that's kind of
Yeah.
frustrating because
Sad.
dogs are just trying to do good. They're not malicious. They're
No.
like little kids. They don't have that malicious intent.
No.
And
You know?
there really is the saying, another saying too, dogs is man's best friend, but there really is that special, unique connection they have with human beings that really not even cats. If I can say, maybe you could prove me wrong on that one, but
Well, cats are like a wild animal. They go
Yeah.
feral really quickly.
Yeah.
right. But dogs, and we were watching a video last night that really confirmed a lot of the things that we've read and different books about dogs. There's one I've got nearby. I can't put my hand on it now. Dog psychiatrist, and we were talking to Dina Zafiris, who's had a show on the Pet Planet, Finder, and she was on 2 of our shows, and she's done a lot of training with animals, specifically horses and dogs.
Yeah.
But that,
There's a lot of similarities with working with horses and working with dogs. And I use a lot of, so one of my good friends has a dog and a horse, and I was walking her dog for years, and I would go ride with her on the weekends, and I would bring my dog with me, and we would get the dogs to like jump on the horses and ride with us sometimes, or have the dogs nearby. And so she taught me to do a bunch of groundwork, and she kind of taught me like as much as she could during the time that I had with her. And I use a lot of the things that I learned from her and apply it to dogs. And so her and I are always just like, she's telling me horse things and I'm telling her dog things, and we're making all these connections. And now we're applying the training to both of the animals.
Well, that's amazing. Cross training, right?
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that unique chemical that the creator put in us, oxytocin, there's a rush in both dog and dog owner. They've actually cataloged this and scientifically observed it when that dog is being pet or is close to the owner, or is being rewarded or
smells the owner's.
Yeah. There's
eye contact.
Amazing.
And with those studies, it always ruffles my feathers a little bit when they don't word it properly. They say that when dogs look into humans' eyes, and that's not true because it's only a bonded human and dog. Because if you don't know the dog and you stare at them, they can likely perceive it as fear, as an intimidation behavior. Because heavy eye contact is threatening unless you're bonded to the animal. And then if you're bonded to the animal, you're getting all that dopamine stuff.
Yes.
And all the good
And I think that probably is the more accurate qualifier, which was true on the video. They just assumed it, but you're right about that. Not just any dog. I mean, a strange dog. We're really pleased at how this rescue we've had about a year, how quickly she's adapted. And I'm wondering, I'm just going to speak out loud and ask you because I'm curious. She, without going in, she hardly ever was walked outside in the open or got any kind of, she lived in the city and they just took her out at the end of the walk and back, to pee or poop and then back
Just
in.
a quick potty break, not a legitimate walk.
Yeah. And so when
Yes.
she's very fast.
She didn't even know how
She didn't know how to walk.
run.
It was like bow-legged. But
Kind of
Oh.
little funny
yeah,
gallop
and we
thing.
really didn't do a whole lot of training except seeing our dogs and being around them. She is so happy now. Her demeanor, and she is lightning quick.
Yeah, she's
Well, I
She's
always tell
afraid of-
people training is happening whether you're consciously aware of it or not. I
Right.
talk to that with other dog walkers a lot
Mhm.
because a lot of dog walkers, I teach classes to other dog walkers.
Mhm.
And a lot of dog walkers are like, I'm not a trainer, I'm not doing any training. And they refuse to walk certain dogs that have certain behaviors, which is fine. You
Yeah.
can pick and choose whatever clients you want,
Right.
but it's not true that they're not training.
Mm.
Because if you're touching the dog and you're
Yeah.
interacting with, if you're holding the leash, you're training the dog.
Mhm.
And so the dog is learning things and doing things, whether you are consciously applying them or not. If you're
Mhm.
unconsciously doing it, it's still happening. You're just not
Yeah.
paying attention.
Yeah.
And so it's always a little frustrating to try to break through to people that dog
Yeah.
training is for people,
Yes.
Yes!
Exactly. More
the
so.
person to handle
Yeah.
the dog. And so the
Yes.
dog trainers that are like that, I'm like, well, you're the one who clearly needs training. Not the dog.
Clearly.
But you have to word things nicely for
Right.
people
Yeah.
to take them
We're-
well. And
We're
you don't have
teachers,
to-
so we know.
Right.
We work with parents, and it's like wording things right.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. And dogs, you don't have to be so careful. You're like, yes, no,
Yeah.
do that, don't do that.
Right. Well, the reason, going back to this dog, our dog Chloe, I remark about how much of it's an environmental choice, if I could say that about dog making a choice, because that training seemed to happen so quick. I'm wondering if it was a part of her breed. She's a mixed breed, Rottweiler and Black Lab, I think, or the fact, or maybe both, that she felt such love from us initially compared to what we felt like she wasn't getting. I mean, she wasn't physically abused, just neglected.
Yeah.
And didn't
And I
get
think
maybe
sometimes
both.
people get confused too, where they think dogs need love,
Mhm.
but really they need structure, and the structure makes them feel safe and secure because they have an expectation. And it's the uncertainty that creates anxiety and confusion. When they're
Yeah.
not sure about what's happening or what's going to happen, it makes them anxious and unsure.
Yeah.
And so if you have really well-balanced dogs to show this dog,
Yes.
what to do, it's
Yeah.
just going to follow the other dogs around. And then the
Yeah.
other dogs have the routine and the structure. And if your house is, not
Mhm.
incredibly chaotic and there's
Yeah.
routine, the
Right.
dog is going to be
You
like,
definitely
oh,
have a
okay.
schedule. Yeah.
Right.
She's
So
a-
schedules really help
Mhm.
dogs with a lot of things. And then the exposure thing where you said like this dog didn't get out a lot.
Mm.
It's kind of like depending on how old the dog is, but a
Mm.
lot of times when a dog reaches a certain age and they haven't been able to get certain socialization, they're never going to get it.
Mm.
And you can desensitize them to a degree, but some
Mhm.
dogs have had certain experiences or a lack of experiences, and you kind of hit a wall. And there's
Mhm.
not, just like with people, if you don't learn language by a certain age, you're never
Yeah.
going to learn more than like one word stuff.
Right.
You're not going to ever learn to speak full sentences. It's just not going
Mm.
to happen. The brain is wired, like it's closed. Those doors
Right.
close.
Right.
And dogs have a lot of social things as well that if they don't learn it by a certain age, they just don't get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's not extremely old, but I just have remarked about how quickly that she's adapted and how comfortable she feels. She's actually one-upping the other two. I say porch, and she'll come right up to the porch right away. And the others two are now following her. Part of it is because she's faster than them, but she wants to please so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if she's because she didn't get that before.
Yeah. I've had plenty of dogs where they've been with their owner and the owner doesn't do those engagement
Mm.
games with them, or they don't do engaging things. And so the dog has actually never had that engagement with their owner. And then
Mhm.
as their trainer, that's all you're doing is engaging with them. And so then they're like, they're with you.
Yes.
And then the owner is like, oh, my dog loves you more than me. And it's like, no, it's not about love. It's
Right.
about
Yeah.
communication and obedience. It's the
Yeah.
engagement. I can get engagement from your dog.
Mhm.
And when you can engage with the dog, you can communicate with them and tell them what you want.
That's it.
And so a big thing with
Mhm.
training is teaching the owner how to engage with their dog and
Mhm.
how to communicate to their dog in
When
a
we-
clear way.
Yeah, when we talk to our Canadian friend Mike, who's trained Buddy and Pal, has got a great following. It's amazing. Of course, a German Shepherd is already pretty intelligent, but Mike talks constantly to his dog, and that dog is. I think that's part of his training is that Buddy. Well, it was Buddy first, then Pal. Now it's Pal. He's had 2 or 3 of them. I mean, responds to his every cue, and he's tipping his head as German Shepherds will, and I think that's part of it is that constant communication.
And see, I maybe don't agree with that so much because especially when you say the dog is tipping their head, that's the dog trying really hard to focus on the key word that it needs.
Yeah, that's true.
The dog actually does not know what that guy is saying. It's like teaching a dog to release on a certain word, and you're teaching the dog that the other words are nonsense. And so that's when people play those games where they're like, stay, and then they practice saying other words like cake or balloon, free, and then the dog goes. Like the dog is just like waiting for the one word that it knows. And so it's trying really hard to focus. And so German Shepherds are intelligent dogs. They're not the best at anything, but they're very well rounded in multiple things. They're the dog who classes in multiple categories, but they're not the best in any of those categories. They're just kind of a well balanced herding dog. Dogs who are really anxious and you talk to them a lot, it creates more anxiety and more confusion, and it actually really muddies your obedience. And so I would say that talking, sure, that dog is able to decipher his owner because he's used to him. But I wouldn't recommend or even suggest, like, I guess, talking like that. A lot of the owners that do that have reactive dogs. Notice that the people who baby talk their dogs often have reactive dogs, and the reactivity is generally based out of fear or frustration and due to a lack of clear communication.
I think probably the bond is strong in between Mike and his dog. That maybe
German Shepherds are patient. They're cool about waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for that cue. Like any herding dog, they're out there and they're just waiting. They're waiting for the word. They're waiting for the release, and then they go. And so they're cool with just waiting like that. Other dogs might like pace and be like, I don't know what this is. And so a lot of times when I'm working with people, I actually try to get them to just like not talk. Don't talk to your dog and just use your body and the leash, because a dog who's overwhelmed can't focus when you're making a lot of noise.
Make it more simple so that they can understand that
certain words,
right?
Because they're not listening to what you say. They're listening to the vocal fluctuation. They're not listening. They don't speak English. They're listening for the tone. And so you could say, you're so stupid. What a dum-dum. And they would wag their tail because generally that tone means something good. Well, and so they're not listening. They're listening. And a lot of people don't realize either. They're not listening to the word at all. And I can usually demonstrate this in training by having the person not say anything and just move their body as if they were talking, and the dog responds to their body movements. It's actually the way you move your hand. It's actually the footstep you take forward. It's actually the way that you lean is actually what the dog is waiting for. They're not actually listening to you at all.
Other exceptions, we watched again. I was aware and saw this a couple years ago. The border collie who can identify over 1,000 of her stuffed animals.
I've seen that.
Now, how do you explain that?
I train my dog to know his names of all of his toys as well. My rat terrier, I could send him to pick out a toy.
So
and he knows not to touch the cat toys. He knows not to touch my son's toys. And I have probably like 20 toys, and I could tell him to go get the fish or go get your Kong or go get, the name. And that's just the exact same training as teaching a dog what sit means. Sit means move your body this way. This word means this object. My dog knows that I can say, go find Lee, go find Vern, and Lee could say, go find Mo. And my dog knows we're going to go find that person.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then once the dog understands the game and they understand, like, okay, when we do this in this context with these toys, I'm going to learn a new word. My owner is now teaching me something new. And so that's how they can decipher the name of something that they don't know by the category of the other items.
Which she did. A new one.
Right. A new dog that's not familiar with this game isn't going to be able to do that.
Right. Exactly.
That's a reversed game between that the dog knows.
And it's interesting to see what she did when out of CBS News of 60 Minutes. put a new stuffed animal into that mix of 1,000,
Mhm.
and it took just 2. She could see or made some kind of adjustment mentally that it wasn't one of the terms or names that she had been used to, and picked
Right, but
that
this
new-
dog has already found new toys before
Right.
because this dog
Yeah,
has been
exactly.
playing it for 1,000 other toys.
right.
And so
Yeah,
doing this
true.
one,
At some
yeah,
point, one
so
of them
it's
was
already
new.
something it's done before.
Yeah.
Right.
But that level of deduction, it seems like there's a little bit of a deduction there. I don't know that anybody ever thought a dog could do that, but
I'm not sure if I know what the word deduction means.
yeah. Well, I guess maybe I never thought about the way you just put it, but I was just thinking about when I watched that the dog, at least the reporter was making this.
Yeah, the reporters make up so many stories about me too. Oh man,
Yeah.
the things that they say that I'm doing, I'm like, that is not how that works. And when I'm posting media online, I'm also playing that silly game that is not actually real. You're getting an entertainment. You're not getting real life.
Yeah.
Right.
And all the work behind what
me greeting the dogs like that on the bus is all for show. I don't really do that while I'm actually working.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
But
for the
you're
internet to go, oh, so cute. Like, follow, subscribe.
But I see what you're saying, though. At some point in time, any one of those 1,000 stuffed animals that this border collie knew
was new at
was
some
new
point
at one
in time.
point. Yeah.
And so when you're teaching, so dogs learn from their environment really well. And so if you're, Liz, I'm going to show you an example and then maybe it'll make sense too. So I do this while I'm training dog owners. If you tell your dog, if you walk into the kitchen and grab the cookie jar and have your dog sit directly in front of you, and then you give them a cookie, that does not mean that they know sit. They know that series of events means when you walk into this room and touch this object, I'm going to get directly in front of you and get food. That doesn't mean out on the walk, if I say sit next to me, that they understand. Because they know that sit in the kitchen means sit in front of me. And so if you take a dog into a different room, into a different environment, it does not translate over. You have to generalize these words and you have to generalize this training. And so when you're teaching a dog the names of their items and the names of their toys, when I was first teaching my dog, I do it on the same rug, in the same room, in the same place, and we play the game in the exact same way. Over and over and over again until the dog generalizes the game.
Yeah.
Once the dog generalizes the game, I can move it to a different room. Once I move to a different room, the dog starts to generalize it even more. The more rooms you move and the more toys you add in, the more the dog generalizes the concept. Once you've been able to move to any different room and have any different toy, the dog now understands in a whole picture what it is. And so that's how you can teach them the new toy, because they're generalized by the room and the association of the game, that they can figure it out.
As long as you're consistent and leave those
and they can like put together multiple tricks in a row. Like you can teach them like a whole agility course. And the only way you can do that is by having marker words. So if a dog has a marker, they know that they're still looking or they're still continuing the trick until the end, and then they get their payment. So they will do multiple tricks, multiple things, but you have to slowly build them up for that. Like recall is a multiple step process trick. It's stop what you're doing, run to me, and then perform a behavior until I say not to, which is come, sit, stay, and then the release word to have that formal recall. And so you have to teach it backwards, and then you have to generalize it in all these different environments for them to actually fully understand what the recall is. Wow. And a dog who has generalized multiple tricks generalizes things a lot faster because they're already generalizing.
Yeah, it's the same skill that they're using.
Right. And so the brain, when it has a pattern in the brain, it can hit it really fast. A new path, you're like clearing away, you're chopping your way through. Right. And once the path is made, it's a lot easier to walk that path.
Do you have a favorite species or breed of dogs, or it's hard to pick one?
For myself or as a client?
Well,
I don't want
the personal opinion.
Yeah.
For my own personal dog.
Yeah.
My favorite personal dogs are dogs I don't want as clients. Because I want a dog who's going to protect me from grizzly bears. I don't want my clients being that aggressive.
Yeah.
Right. And so my own dog is bonded with me and highly trained. And I don't need, it's hard to have an aggressive dog in pack walks. right? A
Mhm.
dog who's notoriously bred for aggression does
Mhm.
not generally get along with strangers entering their house
Yeah.
and putting them with a bunch of other dogs.
Right.
And so my dog has generalized the routine of meeting new dogs because I do the same thing in the
Mhm.
same place with,
Yeah.
and so my Curly and Bear dog that is notorious. Curly and Bear dogs are notorious for being dog to dog aggressive.
Mhm.
And so I really have to watch her, and her obedience has to be top notch.
Yeah.
But it's what I do for a living, and so she's outside all day long, and so she exerts the energy that she needs. But having those dogs as clients are a bit tougher to get in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like a dog who doesn't want to run up on other people and say hi to anybody. I like dogs who are really aloof. I don't want my dog to go greet strangers. I don't want my dog begging for food from
Right, yeah.
strangers. I don't like dogs that are. I like my clients to be food motivated because I can just teach them with food, right?
Yeah.
I want my dog to not beg from other people or not bother other people and
Yeah.
just kind of be aloof and mind its own business and follow me around, but range enough. So I like dogs that are not too slobbery. So I don't like dogs that have the big jowls.
Yeah.
I don't like dogs with short noses because they can't breathe well. They
Mhm.
can't do the high level activities that I like to do.
Mhm.
And I like dogs that are really easy to groom. I love training poodles, but I would never own one because I don't have the time or the energy to
Yeah,
groom
that's
them.
Wow.
I like a dog who doesn't shed as much. So I kind of liked the seasonal shedding, like Huskies. They just blow their coat. I know people think Huskies are high shedders, but they're going to lose their winter coat. And if you know how to blow them out, or you send them to the groomer to get their blowout, it's really not that.
That's
It kind
cool
of just
stuff.
comes out in chunks and then it's done.
Mhm.
Where like those hunting dogs, like pointers, they just shed continuously all the time, those little short hairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, I want a coat that's easy to clean. I
Yeah.
want a high energy dog that wants to do things for hours on end, that can breathe well and jump and swim and do like pull my kid on a sled. I like those. I want the high energy, like really obnoxious dogs that if they're not trained well, they'll eat your house apart.
So you mentioned you had a curly bear. I've not heard that.
Really bear dog. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And
How often have you encountered a bear on
I
your
was going to
walks?
ask that too.
Oh, I don't encounter them on my pack walks generally.
No, right.
I see a lot of bear poop on my walks. I generally only see bears when I'm just hiking by myself with my own personal dogs,
Mhm.
or I'm camping or doing like backpacking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we're loud. I've got like 12 dogs out there, 14 dogs, and we walk at the same place. My area smells like dogs. We're
Mhm.
loud.
They're
And
gonna,
as long as you're being loud, the
Yep.
bear is going to avoid you.
yeah, I've heard
Okay,
that too.
yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
Wow.
A bear
So-
does not want to run into 14 dogs.
No, no, you
No.
want to deal with that.
They don't want that. They're
Wow.
going to hear us come in. And when it's really windy, I do everything that I should do to make myself known. I'm really loud. And so if it's kind of windy or I think we could be coming around a tight corner, I'm just loud. Let's go this way. Come on
Yeah.
over here.
Well,
I'm blowing my whistle. Like
Yeah.
you can hear me from so far away. I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also making myself known for other people so that other people don't run into me. Because if they hear me calling like Fido, Max, Echo, I'm calling all these names, they're going to be like, I don't know. Like maybe I should go somewhere else. There's something going on over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that there are exceptions to that. My family was chased by a female bear, a black bear in Maine years ago, and we were making all kinds of noise because we were fishing and being kids. And I think she was trying to protect her brood. And they can run. I don't know about grizzlies and brown bear.
Grizzlies are faster.
Yeah, they probably are. They seem to be
are.
more athletic. But my dad saved the day by lighting the whole meadow up in smoke with one match, and the bear turned on her heel. But I think she was being extremely protective, and they can smell. They can't see real well.
There could have been a food source nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And so bears, the dangerous bears are bears who are habituated to people.
Yes.
Being habituated is not in itself dangerous, but a bear who is habituated and food conditioned is a very dangerous bear because they know that people have food and they want your food and they're not scared of you. And so they're going to come in and try to take your food or take your stuff.
Which is probably not a good thing when tourists come up your way or in the Rockies or wherever and feed bear like they do, because I think it's
not allowed here. You can't do that's you're not even supposed to leave your trash out until the morning of trash day. So you have to keep your trash inside.
They'll fine you, right? Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, folks, we've had Mo Mountain Mutts on with us tonight. You can find her on what? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok,
TikTok and Facebook, Threads.
Facebook.
We're on all of them.
And I noticed on your website, we shared all these before you came on, while your computer was updating. You sell supplements now.
Yeah, we're the founder of Trace.
This supplement yourself, and what does it do for dogs?
I'm really big on hip and joint stuff.
Okay.
I have some clients and they started getting stiff and they're just not able to run around as much. And I've had 3 dogs start joint and hip supplements and completely 180 and get back to playing again. Like their joints don't bother them as much. So there's definitely something about like the glucosamine in the hip and joint that's like lubricating for your joints. And then the skin and coat one, there's been a couple dogs that have had I don't even know what we don't have a vet here. So this dog never went to the vet to get officially diagnosed, but he was having a bunch of little scabs all over his stomach.
Okay.
And after he was on the skin and coat, it cleared up. And probiotics, I feel like they're pretty standard probiotics. And same with there's a lot of different hip and joint and probiotics out there. And I've tried a bunch of different ones, but I like these ones in specific because they're a treat. I really get annoyed by the powders just because they get kind of dusty and dry. And so my personal dogs don't like the dust as much and they can be a little bit like Echo might turn her nose up at it or something, but they like the treats. And so this has just been like a good way to get those supplements in without it being annoying to give them to your dog and have to measure, it's just a treat. And my dogs think they're getting a treat.
And so you sell that, and then you have those amazing T-shirts with some of the dogs on there, and hoodies and sweats. You got that one,
And a tank top. I have a tank top on with the same thing. Puppy bust.
That's cool. I love that one you talked about. I don't know if you sell that on your.
We do, yeah. We sell sweatshirts, T-shirts, and a hat.
Dog. Yeah, we'd have to check that out for sure. All you dog lovers out there, we have a number of our guests and people that watch our show that are dog lovers.
My favorite product is about to come out. So I make calendars every single year, and I used to just make them for my clients and gift them to them for Christmas. This is back when I only had like 6 to 9 clients, and it could just be one dog on each page. Now there's so many dogs. It's like a full collage, and so I put the dogs' birthdays in there, and then I put pictures. You can see a bunch of the pictures have been on Instagram and stuff. So I try to pick like really beautiful backgrounds where they're all lined up really pretty, or a couple action shots, and then their birthdays are in there. And so I sell calendars. I'm actually going to finish them up after I get off here. I have to finish putting in the new dog's birthdays.
That's great. So I'm sure they're good sellers. Wow. Well, it's been awesome talking to you. We want to stay in touch. Folks, look up Mo Mountain Mutts on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, and the website itself. We had it up here. Mo Mountain.
Yeah, we're MoMountainMutts.com. Everything is Mo Mountain Mutts.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. I don't know how you do, because you have, I thought I saw a picture of you, a child in a stroller. Was that your child?
Yeah. Future business runner, Vern.
Yeah. And then you also work at a salon. Yeah, I don't know how you do it with all the dogs and all the training and
I barely work in the salon now. I only work there like once a week now.
Yeah.
It's like I just can't let it go.
Yeah, you gotta have a little release.
I'm just hanging on because my best friend owns the salon, and I've been working with her for years, and we still do each other's hair. And then I just have like my close friends. I just kind of have a small handful.
We're
the only. There's not a lot of. We're in a small town. There's just not a lot of options for stuff. So
Skagway, how big is Skagway? I've always wondered.
At the widest part of town, it's 5 streets wide.
Yeah. Wow. So population wise, because we live in a town of what? A couple hundred people.
I'm never good with that question. It's
probably bigger.
It's a lot of people in the summer and then not very much in the winter.
Yeah, a lot of places back where I'm from in Maine is like that. So I don't want to put you in the spot, but we always like to end our time in our interview praying for people. So if you have any needs, we'll pray for you and your business and your husband, your family, and your dogs, your clients. But we just love to close in prayer. So our blessing to you, and we certainly are dog lovers. Anything that you can think of that you're concerned for, that you would like us to pray for, or just a general prayer?
Well, just if we're talking about my dreams and growing the business, I would really like to find some property that I can work on so that I'm not just training out in public as much. I've been kind of on the hunt for saving up for a down payment to try to find some property that I could just have like I make my own trail right now, and it would just be nice to have
Easy. Yeah.
all the other dog trainers out there have their own facility. I'm out here just like free ranging it out in the wild.
Right.
That's
So
right.
My next step up is to have my own property to be able
That
to
would
have
be awesome.
Yeah.
and set up like an agility thing where people could like, come and do agility on my property.
Wow, that'd be great.
There's not a dog park in this town or anything like that. We have really cool trails that are off leash friendly, but I don't go on them for business. So it would be, so we're just keeping an eye out for some.
We will
property.
we will pray for you, and let's do that now.
Okay.
Amen.
Mhm.
Father, thank you so much for this wonderful connection with Mo this evening. We've worked hard trying to work it out in her busy schedule, our busy schedule, and I just thank you so much for her love for dogs and for animals and for her clients and her family. I pray, Father, right now that, Lord, her dream to have her own place, a piece of property somewhere, Lord, that you would just drop it in her lap and it would all work out, Father God. Thank you so much for just leading her to have this avocation, a life's calling to help dogs, Lord, and to help other people understand themselves so they can be better owners of dogs, Lord. Thank you so much for your love. We praise you. We give you glory and ask again for a special blessing on Mo and her family, for prosperity, for goodness and blessing to follow her. Just open that door this week, even this week, Father, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah.
Amen. God bless you, Mo. We'll stay in touch and let us know if you get that piece of property, and we'll keep checking back on some of your social media websites.
Oh yeah, well, we would definitely celebrate on there of having our own.
For sure.
Mo, it has to be another M. Mo Mountain.
Mansion.
Mountain Mansion. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Jesus talked about
For
I
the
go to a new
dogs.
place, so for dogs.
I just keep taking it and putting it back into the dogs.
Yeah.
So when you asked me that first question, how did I start out? A lot of people don't know. I started out on my bicycle.
Oh my word!
I picked up dogs on my bike and did bike and hikes, and then I had this minivan.
Yeah.
And then, so I had to get a van when I started getting puppies because you can't run puppies like that. It's not good for their joints.
Yeah. Right.
Well, talking about their joints again. So it's not good for them to run. So I started using a minivan. And then this dog, she didn't want to get in the minivan, but she loved going on the dog walks. And I figured it out. She didn't want to sit next to the licky puppy. And so I got a different vehicle, and I had like those cages you can put in the back and like the netting so that they can't come up into the driver's seat. So she would sit like in the passenger seat, like shotgun, and then the puppies would be in the back. And then she got in no problem. And now I have the bus. So every dog has their own space and their own. I just keep trying to make the dogs more comfortable.
Yeah.
So the next comfort level is their own trail on their own.
Yes. Their own trail, their own mansion, their own.
From bike to mansion.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thank
God
you guys
bless
for having
you.
me.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Take
You
care.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.